Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to another edition of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we take a look back on our classic episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews as we count down the 100 weeks to the 100th and final episode. Welcome to everyone in the chat so far. Welcome Rudy, welcome Sean, welcome Chris, welcome Jenny, welcome to everyone else still filtering in. Happy Friday the 13th. I have had a not terribly lucky week for anyone who has been following me on Twitter. Well, for one thing, it is currently well over 80 degrees today, so although normally I tend to keep my window closed to block out any external sounds, I have to leave it open right now, otherwise I'm going to die in here. Because I have not had a healthy week, unfortunately. Yes, gutes 13 Freitag. There we go. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Sehr bisschen. Yeah, I came down with a little bit of a stomach virus that presented very weirdly. Because no real gastrointestinal distress, which is what you would normally expect from a stomach virus, but some mild nausea that happened to trigger and overstimulate my vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from your gut through your heart up to your brain. And it controls a lot of like automatic systems within your body. And if it gets overstimulated, it will drop your blood pressure, dilate your veins, and you experience what is called vasovagal syncope, which I am somewhat prone to. So, long story short, I passed out repeatedly. 4 times over the course of 6 hours on Sunday. I've experienced vasovagal syncope before. It happens to me maybe once or twice a year, tops. Sometimes I'll go for years without it happening at all. Usually set up by me being exceptionally exhausted and dehydrated and under stress. And if it happens to me, I'm knocked out for basically the rest of the day. I'm just exhausted. Because it drains you. And this happened to me 4 times in one day. It has never happened to me like that before. Maybe twice, possibly at some point in the past. Never 3 times, certainly not 4. So after the third one, MJ took me down to the urgent care. Where I experienced my 4th fainting spell, and then took an ambulance to the hospital where I got fluids, blood workup, vitals were fine, knocking on wood, perfectly fine with everything else, but I did need to be rehydrated, I did need to rest, and I need to stay very horizontal. I did end up experiencing 2 more the next day, so that was 6 over the course of 36 hours, which was deeply unpleasant. So I've spent a good portion of this week being purely horizontal, because each time that I went to get up, it would make me feel very lightheaded. Fortunately, at no point did I actually fall. I always felt it coming on. I've learned to recognize when I'm experiencing a vasovagal syncope episode. So as soon as I feel it coming on, I move to the ground immediately, and alert MJ that it is happening as loudly as I can, and then I lose consciousness. It's very disorienting. It's very upsetting, but it is, as far as I can tell, harmless for the long term. So there's no there's no damage done by that. It knocks me out for the day, and it's very disorienting and distressing in the moment. So I took 3 days off from work this week. When I did go back to work yesterday, um, I had to be very careful because, frankly, I felt lightheaded within a few minutes of teaching my first class on Thursday. So there was a lot of sitting back down and taking breaks and resting in the nurse's office in between classes. So I have been in not a great state this week. And um, because of that, there has been no new progress on 97 since last week. Literally, the only editing I have done so far this week was earlier this evening. I spent a few minutes to finish up the rapid run through that I was editing last Saturday. That is the extent of editing I have done today this week. So that definitely puts me behind schedule. I was hoping to get a lot of stuff done this week, but obviously I was literally incapacitated. Even moving around the apartment, I was crawling on the ground so as not to lift my head up too vertically and risk having another spell. So so that was my experience this week. Happy Friday the 13th. It's yeah. So I'm feeling much better at this stage. Obviously, I am currently upright. I am largely recovered. It is more difficult when I'm at work because I wear a mask and I'm standing and walking as I teach and projecting my voice to a classroom of students. So it is more challenging at work than it is at home. So I am actually doing rather okay right now. Wednesday I was still very much not feeling great, but I realized late in the day on Wednesday one of the reasons that I was still feeling very lightheaded and overheated was because I was literally being overheated because our thermostat broke. And the apartment, which had been set to 70 degrees, had actually been heated to well over 75, and the heater had been going the entire day. So I was not happy to discover that on Wednesday, because overheatedness is another trigger of vasovagal syncope. So that's been my week. My apartment tried to kill me. And that's why I'm leaving the window open this evening, because I would like to not lose consciousness anymore. I'd like to be done with that, please. I think I am. I have not had another episode since Monday, and hopefully it stays that way. But yeah, that was rough. Last week's live stream won't show any comments. I wonder why that is. I'll have to take a look at that later. Very strange. So yes. Because of this, though, because of having lost a week and not being in a condition where I can really pull all-nighters right now, without once again risking my health, because as I stated before, exhaustion and stress are triggers for vasovagal syncope, and I do not wish to be knocked out again. I am concerned that may push 97 to a later release date. I don't know how much it may push it, and I don't know how much that may disrupt my schedule for the rest of the year and hitting my target goal of October 13th. And I find it tremendously ironic that I am even discussing this during the stream where we will be talking about the last episode of Power Reviews before the big 2-year hiatus. The irony of that is not lost on me. Because, the reason for the 2-year hiatus, in terms of how it got started, was because I had twisted my ankle which had caused a vasovagal syncope episode. So, hey, fainting spells. They're things that happen when certain nerves are stimulated in certain ways, like with sudden onsets of pain. So, now that I've caught you guys up on that, I will say that I will be closely monitoring my progress on 97 and projecting what I'm able to do with 98 and 99. I have a potential alternate release schedule in mind that would still allow me to release everything this year, even if I do not hit my October 13th goal, which I would really like to, but I don't want to jeopardize my health. So I will keep you all in the loop on that. Now, all that said, not just here to learn about the intricacies of my physical well-being, we want to see how database is doing. So first, let us not forget our 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say with me, chat, Black Lives Matter. Number 2, say with me, chat, fascism is bad. And number 3, say with me, chat, superheroes are fun. So let's us dive in and check in with our favorite superhero. 1, Mr. Database Ranger, may be finally returning to the side of good. In episode 78 of Database Rangers Power Reviews, our review of episode 18 of Power Rangers Super Megaforce, Emperor Mavro.
Previously on our review, moral alignment device scattering us across dimensions. Very powerful magic indeed.
There we go.
Initiating recall procedure now.
It's the whole process.
I'll go ask her.
The selected columns include the electronic eye line showed it out. That's not DB.
So, yeah, so much kind of came together at this point. We've got so many different pieces. The return of T Omega, the new powers for Mayo and Guy, and Dr. K's ability, technology, etc. I still love that. Those kicks back and forth are just so good. We really just drilled that so well to get the timing just right on that. We were moving so fast by the time we finally got the final take of that. And then of course this shot, was such a good shot. Oh, and I remember, so you see the light flashing on Guy's face there as they're doing the welding through the door? That's literally just me over there with a little light that I keep flicking on and off, just below the camera. This was also this was also before I got my full-size tripod, if I recall correctly. So I think I may have had to position the old tripod on top of like several tables to get it high enough. And poor database. Oh, right, and that was a tricky shot too. Note how we have 3 hands on database's shoulder. So, if I recall correctly, we had MJ do one hand from this side and then one hand from this side while Dave was reaching in between. It was super awkward, but fantastic. And then the light was coming through the windows in just the wrong way to create this refraction on the camera lens that I wasn't a fan of.
What happened to Nick and Mary?
Guys, anything.
And now this reveal.
They were never taken. They were the ones who took me. What? When I went to rescue them, they must have pranked me from behind or something.
And thank you for the compliment on the acting. That was
They've been partnered with Alphabet
that's
Soup
one
the
that
whole time.
just kind of breaks my heart.
Partners? Are you saying that they're the partners?
Does this mean that Mitch and Mary are differently gendered alternate universe counterparts? Because that would explain a lot.
No. The partners didn't come over with threats of us. They were already here.
What do you know about this?
Just that the entire time I was undercover, nobody ever met with them in person except for the directors and the secretary.
This is
But they've been supplied with funds, technology.
But none of this makes any sense. They helped save us from Alphabet
this
Soup.
is
Why would they do
just
that? If they don't want
this was a reveal that I really debated with myself quite a bit. Because I wasn't sure when I wanted to do the reveal of the more positives.
How they got a hold of the original Central Space Code.
That was them? They did this to you.
But that's not everything.
You're right. This means that Alphabet Soup has all of my research into the wireless interdimensional interface and the specifications for my portal alignment
I did
device.
so much filming in Dave's car.
And with full control over interdimensional travel.
This was like we just did like a full day of filming in Dave's car. Just at the end of his driveway. We ran like a ton of extension cords and surge protectors out of Dave's garage all the way down the driveway.
Questions about what happened. They're trying to.
No.
They managed to replicate the process.
Then they'll have an army of dimension-hopping super soldiers in their command. They'll be unstoppable. I thought you all deserved to know. If any of you want to walk away now, I understand. You've already done so much, more than I can ever.
We're not going anywhere.
This is our fight as much as it is yours.
We are not letting Alphabet Soup destroy any more worlds. Not now, not
I
ever.
love all of this. I love this whole sequence. Just this reaffirmation of their friendship, and now.
Hi guys. Hi Bendix. How are you? Great. I was just in my your car. Here's the keys. Thanks.
Oh my goodness.
It's been unseasonably cold this fall. Okay. Please.
Oh yeah, we shot this. At this point, it was. I had written that like it was already. We were filming this in March, but it was supposed to be November.
Things are doing well. Captives are secure. Research is moving along. All my plans are finally coming to fruition.
And I just love that. Hi, Venjix.
Perfect time for the three of us to catch up.
They've just been in their house this whole time, and nobody knew.
Episode.
Dude, we need time to hack into their system.
Sure, why not? Where's the TV remote?
This
Here you go. All right then. Let's take a look at episode 18 of Power Rangers Super Megaforce. Emperor Mavro. On the Armada flagship, Damaris and Lavira are.
and yes, somehow I've managed to
How stressful. You have no idea.
set this up
Surrounded by a fleet of
for another like
airships
just
making
couch review.
before they have a chance to respond,
Somehow a couch review just makes sense in this context.
Emperor Mavro, who has heard about their failure,
Which is a wild thing after what they just had gone through in the last few episodes.
Hi, I'm Mitch Moore-Popsner. I'm Mary Moore-Popsner. We're the Moore-Popsners. Huh, that's strange. Must have been a bad connection. Let's see what the one.
And that was the secretary trying to call to let them know that database had escaped.
funny, that doesn't seem to happen with anyone else in this show.
Yeah, they have a chessboard in the background.
So while
Yeah, they still live in that house, and we've actually been keeping an eye on homes in their areas during our house hunting process. Mavro.
Sons? Oh, yes, Brock was his son too.
And I love the broccoli in the vase, because that's just... Justin and Sarah are amazing. Yeah, they both have to... When they answer the phone, they both have to answer the phone at the same time. And really, it is all about it is all driven around the idea that they are possessed by a singular demonic entity. And now we know who that demonic entity is at this stage. You know, it took a while before we actually discovered it.
Still, Jake makes the argument that with the car and Brock both destroyed and not a single monster seen in the meantime, they are looking at the
And yeah, it only took a single button to turn
Troy is still skeptical though, which Emma counters with
on the TV. Yeah, that's fair.
something that makes no sense whatsoever, and I have no idea why they're doing it. Oh,
Can we?
I don't think so. Troy's got a better idea.
I also just enjoy how the Morpotsners are secretly evil, but absolutely 100% still behaving the exact same way, just like with Database. And it is something that I always find to be an entertaining
Keep going. The encryption is harder to crack than I thought.
Meanwhile, in the distant land of plot progression, Lavira has finally managed
We had fun in this episode. It's always fun filming with Justin and Sarah, and this was a fun episode to film with them. Especially shots like that where they're just rocking me back and forth and we're all just trying not to crack up. While they keep those big giant grins on their faces.
Why have I seen this crazy unstoppable powers of him before?
He must be very modest.
By this point, Jake and Noah are wiped from their piggyback race, so the girls decide to give them a break down by the docks. It doesn't last long, though, as hundreds of purple ships suddenly attack the city and Damaris teleports down.
Now, at this point, the show.
Wait, what? Okay, strike that. Let's ask questions now. Where are they keeping those mega blasters?
Do you really want to know?
Probably not. Ooh, look where these shiny swords.
Some good comedic timing, good facial expressions.
What was your first clue?
Probably the wide-scale destruction.
His next energy strike doesn't miss.
And I get to play with more things with the Morpotsners here because they can be more openly evil in their nonsense.
Strike took out a building. Are we seriously supposed to believe that 4 unmorphed teenagers are more resilient than a skyscraper? I expected more from you. I expected them to actually morph.
Look, their friends have arrived with more guns from their backside.
Who's that?
But
Most powerful
In the universe?
Why are they talking like that?
They finally morphed to Super Mega Mode.
also there's just another random picture with kitchen utensils behind my head because of course there is. But I had actually, when I initially thought of the year 2 finale, before I'd fully fleshed out year 2, my initial ideas for the year 2 finale was that it was going to be a big fight against the Morpotsners just in their apartment. And there was a whole plot line I had in mind with Ziggy and him possessing a plushie and all this nonsense that just never really ended up amounting to anything. And ultimately I decided to just, okay, I need to have there be a reveal with them in the penultimate episode that they're actually behind everything. Really, year 2. Year 2 just really kind of sets so many pieces into place for having just a big bombastic finale where I really wanted to make sure I was serving all the characters well. And my early ideas for year 2 really wouldn't have done that to the extent that the final version of year 2 really did, I think.
His eyes are closed too. Meanwhile, Jake takes care of the others down in the Mega Cave and promises to find Troy.
Right, Gosei?
Oh, Gosei.
And a great big ornament.
Damaris throws on his oversized sleeves and broadcasts.
Honestly, I just have so much fun writing for the Morpotsners, and I forget some of the lines I have for them. Like, he would make a great guidance counselor and a great hood ornament. Like, just so much fun.
That too, man. Why he's still wearing blindfold. And I know it's recognize him without his helmet. But first, since when can you guys do voice clips? We've always been good. So Jake decides to go rescue Troy with...
That was so fun. Okay, so the way that I did the voice switch was just I had them repeatedly say the same two lines back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, switching them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then just found whichever synced up best with the voices swapped around. I did have to make that pun, didn't I? I had to make the Andrew Gray pun there, didn't I?
Oh, look! Now he's got black pajamas. And now he's got green pajamas. And now he's got pink green pajamas. It's a pajamboree!
Anywho, Jake's taunts eventually get
Pajamboree is just a fun word. Like, considering how much sheer pathos this episode starts with, the bulk of the review is just so fun. This was really a very fun episode to film for just the review portion. And then, just so emotional during that first opening scene. This probably has just one of the biggest whiplashes biggest mood whiplashes of just about any episode, because it starts off so serious, and then knock on the door, boom, more Potsners, we're having a ride. I feel like no other episode I did that I've done so far really has had that kind of mood switch to that extent. And then obviously there's the switch back at the very end of the episode, which is the massive cliffhanger. And we've given plenty of hints over the course of the series that there was something strange about the Morphosiners, and here we finally get to actually address it.
He made it so showy.
And of course, the "make it showy" catchphrase from Gokaiger we had to make use of. Oh, and then this song. Oh, stock footage. This song.
That's the end of the episode. So,
I can never think of this song and not think of this.
Overall, the less said about this episode, the better. So about those plans of ours. But don't you want to know what we thought about it? Yeah, sure, of course. What do you guys think of it? Good, bad, nice?
And this time, they actually give an analysis, because of course that's what they have to do.
Better identify with the Rangers visually. Was damaging to the Willis suspension of disbelief.
It's
and felt ill-suited to a heightened threat that should be ushering in the end game of the season.
Well, guys, that was actually
they've gotten so much more into doing reviews at this stage that they can actually do full-on analyses. And yes, that is the song from Power Ranger Samurai. The episode with Mia's brother. He's not metal. He's my brother, if I recall correctly.
Besides, we all know that the most powerful warrior isn't in that universe.
What?
Oh, well, you like the piggyback rides and the rock groups and the rock concert and the singing and the dancing and Gosei. Right, Gosei? We think he knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah, he's kind of weird. Dimensional never seems to have any concrete information on the hierarchy of any strong sense of connection between.
Oh, I forgot I gave them those lines.
But moving on from that, overall,
I can't dive into some of the stuff that they're talking about here. is stuff that we'll be going over in upcoming episodes. He ain't heavy metal, he's my brother. That's right. Thank you.
Someone who thinks they are
The most powerful warrior in the universe. Wow, that was a surprisingly cogent and in-depth analysis.
Well, it had to be. How else were we supposed to? Solve for time. Well, alphabet soup and it's their work.
Why would you need to stall for time? I mean, I'm part of their work, aren't I?
And here we go.
That's not true anymore.
The more Pottsners are wacky, but they are smart.
How long have you known?
Since the moment you walked in the door.
It was pretty obvious.
We assume that your friends planted a worm virus in our network system.
And we're going to get you
To convince us
to show you.
where the relevant files are.
That's so cute. Well, we are curious.
How you managed to purge
Our virus.
from your system.
Doesn't matter, though. Alphabet soup.
Has almost
There's so much editing when it comes to the more Pottsners.
Surprise.
They have because there's so much cutting back and
Are
forth.
we friends here?
Oh, yes, of course. Best friends.
Then you have to listen to
I also
me.
like how the
don't know what
colors
Alphabet
pop
Soup said.
with
It's
those
your
shots
work
on the
with them,
couch.
But they can't be trusted. Their plans
Oh, their plans
don't matter. It's our plan they're following. What?
they just don't know it yet.
It's a secret. Alright, that's enough. I'm done playing games here. Tell me what Alphabet Soup's up to. Now.
Oh,
database. You may be done playing games, but we're
Oh my goodness.
how does that song go again?
And now, here's where it all changes. Because look who has glowy eyes too.
all the one have is fun. Fun anyway. So just come and join us.
I had to smash myself all over their living room for this. I'm so glad that their neighbors didn't call the cops over the screams of torture coming from their house.
The walls will crumble and all worlds will fall under darkness. Nothing can stop us.
That whole sequence. And first time in a while, we end on a what? That cliffhanger. Biggest cliffhanger we ever did because it lasted for so long. So many people, I'm sure never came back to the series after that. And this was for so many viewers kind of the end of the show for a long time. And I still feel kind of bad about that. I tried. I did. I really did. To keep things rolling. At this stage, I had already filmed a lot for the year 2 finale. I'd had Tom, who plays T Omega, meet up with me over the winter break, so that we could film, that not only that one scene of him in the gurney, but also a bunch of our fight scenes. And then I lost that SD card because I was filming other things with the more Pottsners, where I was wearing a suit jacket because I was being a stunt Alphabet Soup person. I'll point to that shot when we get to it in episode 80. But an SD card fell out of my pocket and I didn't know, and I was never able to recover it. So there was some footage there was like major fight footage for the year 2 finale that I had to refilm. So at this point, this was, when did episode 78 come out? This was May 24th of 2015. It was actually that was Dave's birthday. And sadly, this was like me. And remember again, I said, oh, it's cold for it's cold this fall, because it was supposed to be taking place in like ostensibly early November, end of October, and this was filmed in like March, but written in February. But but I couldn't get these things out fast enough. They were just taking too much time, especially this final sequence. Took a lot of work because I had all these shots with the more Postners and their eyes, like tracking the eyes for the sequence is challenging. And then I had to do all the lightning, all of the hand beam effects. That was a whole sequence that I had to edit first and then tossed double inversions on to get the eye effects looking right. There was a lot of work that went into this. Oh wow, Sean, I forgot that you hadn't been here since the beginning. Yeah, that's very true. There is some definite foreshadowing going on in this episode. The walls will fall, and all worlds will fall to darkness. Foreshadowing Project Gateway and the eventual reveal of who they'd actually been working for the whole time. That doesn't come until episode 94. And it's crazy to me that this episode has such a cliffhanger after opening on a big reveal. Generally speaking, I feel like you don't tend to open on a big reveal and then also have a big cliffhanger at the end. And then you get to have so much light fun in the middle. Really just kind of a wild episode in terms of tone that we really got to play around with. And yeah, that song, like when I actually started like thinking about the lyrics, I'm like, oh, they're gonna make this moment last. Oh no. But yeah, to do all these shots, I had to climb up on like a little step stool, and then lift myself up. I smashed myself into those corners of the ceiling. I threw myself on the floor. I writhed and screamed and convulsed. That was an exhausting evening / afternoon, whatever it was. Just really trying to work to sell that whole being tortured with force lightning thing. Yeah, wow, seventh. You're all kids to me. So many of you are kids. But yeah, there's foreshadowing in this episode for things that have not been revealed yet. That is how far in advance some of the foreshadowing happens. And I'm looking forward to those reveals as we're getting near the end. It's I don't think anyone has predicted what's coming next. I don't think anyone has at this point predicted what's coming next, which is exciting because we've only got 4 episodes left to go. So you're running out of time to figure out what's happening next. Noelle, this came out in 2015, May of 2015. And then it was not until summer of 2017 that I finally came out with episode 79. And I think it might finally be time to tell this story, which is exactly what happened. So, I blame Avengers: Age of Ultron. And here is why. Shortly after releasing this episode, we went to go see Avengers: Age of Ultron. This was 2015. And we went to see it. I had a little too much popcorn. I had a stomachache. And I ended up spending a considerable time period in the bathroom, during which my foot fell asleep. And when I went to stand up, my foot rolled out from under me. I went to grab the towel rack so as not to fall. Towel rack ripped out of the wall, and I fell to the ground, screaming, leading to a vasovagal syncope episode. And that was how I sprained my ankle. And that ankle was a bad sprain. I was using crutches for a number of weeks. When I was at work, when I had to go up or down to the copier or whatever, or the printer, I would balance. I would turn around in my chair and I would roll my chair using one foot, basically like a little scooter, while I kneeled with my bad leg. And I tried to write as best as I could for year 3, hoping that maybe I might be able to work on year 3 stuff soon, because I was coming up on my wedding. And this was already May. I got married in that August of that year, so I tried to write what I could. At this stage, I believe we were doing doing live reactions for Dino Charge, but Dino Charge would have been on hiatus at this point. So there wasn't really any content coming out of the channel for a while. I had to take a break because I couldn't walk, and we had so many fight scenes for the year 2 finale, and it was all on location. And I'm the film crew, so there was no way to really make anything work without me being able to walk. And it took me a good probably 6 weeks before I was walking mostly normally again. I was actually nervous for a while. I wouldn't be able to dance at my own wedding. And so after that 6 weeks, it's like, look, we're getting married next month. This needs to be the focus. So I had to, hunker down, direct my focus on that. I was building like an arch / chuppah that was styled after the command center for the backdrop of our wedding. A bunch of other things, catering, guests, all that business. Not to mention the fact that both Dave and Justin were my best men, my best groomsmen for my wedding. So we were all busy with that. I tried to film what I could, but I made my promise to my then fiance, now wife, that I wouldn't be filming during that month leading up to the wedding. And so then we had the wedding at the end of August. We had our honeymoon immediately thereafter, and I came back to work. At end of August, beginning of September. And I'd been at a state job as a temp for a year and a half at that point. And I saw a friend of mine posting on Facebook. This was a friend, the former director of my student union at our old college, who was on the board of trustees of a local private school, looking for a physics teacher. No previous work experience required, so I decided to reply to the job, managed to secure it, and I was teaching a couple weeks later. And so at that point, and then that was a good 45 minutes east of where we lived. So suddenly, very suddenly, as soon as it was time for me, I came back from the honeymoon, I'm like, okay, time for me to buckle down, film, edit, get this thing out. The year's almost gone. And then I started teaching. And that took so much time, because I was so new to it, and I was grading all the time, and I was driving so far every day. There were nights when I did not come home. I brought a change of clothes. I spent the night in the library, and then came back at the end of work the next day. it was just that much work for me. So we were doing the live reactions, so I did those. But the channel really languished during that time. There was very little I could do in terms of writing and filming and editing. And the year 2 finale was the biggest thing I'd ever attempted. So at that point, then, you know, I could barely get anything done during the school year. I was grading all the time, editing when I could, but I also couldn't pull the all-nighters like I used to. Not only was I getting older, but I was driving so far that I couldn't risk driving on that little sleep. So I would, wake up, go to work, teach, come back, grade, fall asleep, wake up, go to work, and I would find some time for editing over the weekend, but very little. So that whole year just kind of got away from me so fast. I kept making progress. I filmed like during the winter break and the spring break when I could with who I could grab, but people were also getting busier. We lost a lot of momentum because this wasn't like, oh, I gotta get this thing out next month. It's like I'm just trying to get it out whenever I can get it out. And it became so difficult to pull everything together, and there were so many effects to do, and I had to create CG elements that I had never really had to do before for like the Venjix effect of 79 and the portal gate of 79 and 80. And I made it to the end of the school year, and I was getting near the end of the school year. I'm just like, this has been over a year, and neither 79 and 79 isn't near done yet. 80 is not near. I've been working on these both in tandem. They're both only like half done, and I'm just exhausted from working on these same videos week in, week out, and so burnt out from all these days of grading. I need to do something different. And grid defense was something that I had wanted to do for a very long time, and I've been thinking of doing after Power Reviews ended. But I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm going to jump into this. I'm going to do this instead. I need to do something else. So I wrote the script for Grid Defense that spring. I did my casting and filming and editing all together over the course of that summer. I threw myself into Grid Defense instead. Built this set for Grid Defense, and that was what I had to do instead because I needed a break. Because you can't work on just a singular pair. You can't just work on a singular pair of videos for that long while also being exhausted by so many other things, and not just need to do something else. And I mean, I got into Power Reviews sort of as a desire to do something else to begin with. So I took that summer off, and then I went back to working on Power Reviews again when I could after we moved to the school the following year. But as many of you saw with the live reactions during Time of Supercharge, that was a little frantic in and of itself. Personal time while you're watching over a dorm full of boys doesn't really happen too much. So I continued to make slow, steady progress. And it wasn't until I was let go that following summer that I finally was able to buckle down and get and complete 79 and 80. And it's crazy how these things slip away from you, and that's one of the reasons I've been pushing so hard to finish these final 4 episodes, because I know that if I let things slip and I fall into those patterns again of having things get in the way, then this thing could push out another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and that is a weight. That is a weight. That is a weight. WAIT. That is also a weight. WEIGHT. It would be a weight for you guys to have to wait that long, and it would be a weight on me to just know that I have something undone that I'm still working on that's incomplete. And that just wouldn't be something that I would want to do to myself again. Because I've been through that already. I was through that 2-year period of working towards something, trying to complete it, and not being able to for 2 straight years. And I don't want to go through that again. So, yeah, I'm hopeful on 97. I lost a week this week that I didn't have to spare, but I'm gonna see how this next week goes. Maybe there's still a chance I can still get things out by the end of the month. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see, because there are some effects I need to test with. But once I get them down, hopefully they'll be quick and clean. And then we've got 98 and 99 and 100. And 98 and 99 especially are going to be big. 100 is obviously the final episode, but I don't know if I'd say it's as big an episode as the 2 leading up to it. Those are going to be, to a certain extent, on par with 78 and with 79 and 100 and with 79 and 80, with the goal of exceeding them. Definitely, they will be exceeding them in terms of scale within the story. Absolutely, I think. But in terms of complexity of filming, hopefully not. Simply because I'm no longer filming on location in the same way, and that makes a big difference. I'm doing so much more with green screen now, and with my set, where it's much more focused in a singular location. So I'm hopeful, and I'm able to piece things together a lot more easily with the green screen. So if I don't have everybody all at once, I'm able to do things a lot more piecemeal now than I could before. During 79 and 80, if I didn't have all those alphabet soup agents in one place at one time, I could not film. And that was the other thing that made 79 and 80 so difficult. And I'll be getting into those in the next 2 weeks. Those are going to be big ones. Oh, yes. And also, you are correct, Lumina. I also have a real helmet now. That CG helmet was another thing that took up a lot of time with 79 and 80. Obviously. And yeah, location makes a difference. There have been other challenges to working with a set. It's definitely, it's a lot more time consuming in the moment in terms of having to move things around and reposition things. But at least I don't need to go somewhere else and be reliant upon those other factors. So that's a different thing. A video like this for grid defense, I could see doing that, a grid defense commentary. I could take that under consideration. Yeah, I'm trying to decide what I'll be looking at in terms of live streams. Both whether or not I want to keep doing live streams after I complete the commentaries, and I'm also debating what I may need to do with the live streams if episode 100 gets pushed to the end of the year. That's the latest I want to push it. Would be to the end of the year, and that would be if I really pushed it. Thank you, Dave. I try to plan out changes as best I can. I've definitely had to deal with a lot. Welcome, Dave, to the chat. Oh, and yes, I still need to read Power Rangers Universe. Yeah, obviously, with the health concerns that I've had to concern myself with this past week, I have not had any time to really do anything, including get myself caught up on comics. Honestly, there were days where I couldn't even watch YouTube for more than 20 minutes at a time without, like, my eyes starting to get a little swimmy and just having to close them and look away. It was that bad. Howdy, Dave. I hope that you're doing well. We need to meet up to work on some filming for 99 and 100, I know, so we can work on wrapping that up. I'll be in touch. I'll be in touch. Hopefully, I'm pushing to try and finish up 97 and then diving in with the filming for the final 3 episodes. Whew. Final 3. I'm working on the 4th to last episode, and there are 3 left after that. Power of Pain and Fighting Spirit for favorites. Those are good ones, and yeah, you're right. It is. You get to see more of Database's past as the Phantom. Yep, I'm back on my feet now, at least mostly. But yeah, I've got we should chat. We need to hang. We do not hang enough. I haven't seen you. Are you taking care of yourself? I feel like I haven't seen you in months. I probably haven't actually. It has been months because we didn't do New Year's this year. I think did we? I can't remember now. What year is this? It's been I've been going too long. I need to wrap up this stream. But I knew this was going to be a long one because there's so much to talk about just with the week, with the channel, and with this transition of episodes. So I think now is probably a good time to wrap up and call it a night. And finish exporting the deeper look and rapid run through for this evening. 22 at 20x, yes. It's very much year of the Mega Man. Alright, before we wrap up though, let us not forget our remaining 3 equally non-controversial statements. So, number 1, say with me chat, love is love. Number 2, say with me chat, trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say with me chat, robots are cool. Poor robot. He got force lightninged. It's not fun to be force lightninged. Nobody wants to be knocked out on the ground. Nobody likes that. Alright, thank you all again for joining me. Everyone have a great weekend. Don't forget to tune in this Sunday at 11 for the next rapid run-through and deeper look for Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2, Episode 9, The Hunt. And until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.